Have you ever stopped and asked yourself, why do so many people like these fragrances? Because let's face it, we see these brought up relatively often, and there's obviously going to be a reason for that. They must work really well, or they must be good at something. Because no matter what, because that can be applied to any hobby that you're interested in. You're going to see a certain specific product or whatever it might be brought up often. Everybody's talking about it, whether they have it or not. It's something that's in the back of their mind. And so these are some scents that are very popular both in and out of the community. And I'm going to go through why I think each one of these has done so well. The first one is Dior Homme 2020. And I think the reason this has done so well is because it is a woody, masculine, modern, fresh men's scent. There's no sweetness to this one. And, sweet fragrances themselves oftentimes get pretty popular. Look at all the Paco Rabannes, which generally lean sweet. And so I'm not saying that because something is sweet, it's not going to do as well or get as popular. But what I am saying is there's also going to be a crowd of people who don't like that, okay? Because everything's a balance. Everybody has different taste, and especially with a hobby like this, there's oftentimes going to be a pretty big divide. Some people love it, some people hate it, certain styles, right? And so this is kind of a breath of fresh air from a big designer brand for people who just want something clean and fresh and woodsy and more masculine overall. Also, because of the things I just mentioned there, this is a known compliment magnet. It's just something that works really well. If that's a deciding factor or not for you, that's something you have to come up with. But for a lot of people, it is. If you look at the number one thing that gets most new people into this hobby, it's probably them going online, YouTube, Google, whatever, typing in colognes that get compliments or some variant, because that's kind of what they're after in the first place. And this one will pop up a lot of the time. So you can chalk this down to the fact that it's just a clean, fresh, woodsy scent that works really well. Also, if you're shopping smart on discounters, it's typically a bit more affordable than other fragrances from Dior, most notably the Sauvage lineup. Oftentimes you can get this 100 ml for $80 to $90, and typically all of the other Dior offerings are going to be up into the 100s. So this is actually a bit more affordable than you might think. Next up, we have Givenchy Gentleman Eau de Parfum. Been out for a while now, I believe 2017, and it's done really well. It's gotten a lot of recognition, mostly good, but I'm sure there's been a few negative, pieces of feedback for this one or whatever, which again is going to happen no matter what, right? No product is going to appeal to everybody. So the quicker you realize that, the quicker you start to enjoy this hobby more, because some people do get offended when somebody doesn't like their favorite fragrance. I don't know why. I couldn't care less, but it does happen. So as soon as you can get past that and just wear what you enjoy and not worry if other people like what you like, then you're going to have a lot more fun. Now, from the standpoint of bystanders not liking what you like, I can understand that a bit more. And still to that point, though, when you're sticking with mass-pleasing things like this, like the Dior that we just covered, for every one person that might not like it, there's going to be 10 or 12 people who really do like it. So if you just focus on the positives instead of the negatives, you're going to really find a lot more enjoyment with it. And so with this one, it's catering to the sweeter crowd, people who do want some iris and kind of a chocolatey feel and just a sweetness from the vanilla and a bit of a peppery nature. Also, it's iris, to bring that up again, but nowhere near Dior Homme Intense or Valentino Uomo Intense or any of the others that are heavier and richer. So this one is giving you a bit of a uniqueness, but not going too far to where now it's going to be a bit more challenging. So I think this one struck a really good balance for the designer market who are strictly looking for very designer level, easy to wear scents. Next up, we have Gucci Guilty Black. Why is this one so popular and why has it done so well? One, because it's a Gucci, and Gucci is a pretty trendy designer brand. Not to say that the others we've covered aren't, but Gucci definitely is, right? You hear about the Gucci belts and bags and whatever else, right? And so that will also trickle down to fragrances. Now, you could argue that Gucci might not have as good of a track record as some of these other big designer brands, and I would agree with you. However, again, for a lot of people out there, just people who aren't into the community and are just looking to pick up something to smell good, they see a name like Gucci and they see that logo and they see the relatively high price point. Oftentimes, to some extent, that could be an attractant. Because think about it, if you're someone who just wants to feel premium and you want to have just a real high-end designer scent, you might lean towards something that's a little bit more expensive than something that's cheaper because you feel as though you're getting a more premium product. But you and I know that that isn't always the case. A lot of people just don't understand that because they're not in deep like we are. So you combine that conglomerate right there with the fact that this is yet again another fresh citrusy scent. So like an orange blossom, citrus going on, a ton of musk, a whole bunch of it. Very clean, lavender, soapy, bright. It's a little bit opposite to what you might expect. Gucci Guilty Black, you might think of something that's heavier, darker, richer, maybe more interesting, more mysterious. But again, this one is just in the opposite direction. Fresh, bright, uplifting, easygoing, more suitable for warm weather, but could work all year round as a signature scent. Ultimately, this is one that in the community is going to get shoved aside, but in reality, in the real world, this does work extremely well. So I was kind of looking at this next one here and I remembered, or realized I suppose I should say, that it is going on almost 10 years since this has been released. And that doesn't seem right, but it's true. I mean, numbers don't lie. It's Rasasi Hawas coming out at, I believe, the end of 2015. Or maybe somewhere in the middle of the year. I don't know, but I think it was kind of towards the end of the year. That's crazy, right? It's coming up pretty close. And, you know, it's one of those things where it's just super popularized because a fragrance that came out a little bit after this got very popular and got discontinued, and then came out again and got discontinued, and here we are. And of course, that's Invictus Aqua. Most of you know that. Invictus Aqua 2016 came out. They discontinued it really right at the peak of its hype, which was just devastating for a lot of people, myself included. And then in 2018, a couple years later, of course, they released the 2018 version, only to then discontinue it. And they waited a bit longer on that one. I kind of thought we were in the clear. I thought they were going to keep that one out indefinitely, or at least a little bit longer. But no, they discontinued that as well. So this is one of your only existing options that's still being produced that holds its own in terms of quality. Now, there's a few others like Mont Blanc Legend Spirit. It's great, right? It's a great $30 scent. This one's better, though, in my opinion. The plum, the watery notes, the ambroxan, the citrus, everything about this one is just a bit more premium and top shelf, at least compared to the Mont Blanc. It's an absolute beast mode of a performer. That's reason one why people like this one. Not often do you get a standalone summer scent like this that performs this good. Reason number two, simply the fact that it's riding, you know, kind of filling in for the Invictus Aqua hype that, you know, was once very popular and then went away because you couldn't get it anymore. And then people discovered that this has been a thing for a while and you can get this instead. Third reason is obviously being the compliment factor through this one is just crazy. It's that Invictus DNA at its core, but then the Aqua portion is just giving it a bit more of a freshness. You know, Invictus itself is very bubblegummy. This has some of that, but it is lessened by the watery notes and just even some more of the existing citrus and fruits. That's basically it in a nutshell. It's a summer scent that performs great, that people love, and that is something you could get now, whereas you can't get the Invictus Aquas anymore. Next up, we have Tom Ford Noir Extreme. Why is this one so popular? First and foremost, let's state the obvious, it's a Tom Ford. Kind of like that Gucci effect I was talking about earlier. People are going to see and hear Tom Ford, and they're just going to want it. It's just how it is. Obviously, you know, they're a designer brand. They do clothing and shoes and sunglasses and other things, right? I don't have any of that stuff, so I can't attest to the quality and all of that stuff. But, you know, it's expensive and some people want that stuff. And so, again, the Tom Ford glasses and bags and clothing, the trickle-down effect that kind of gets people into Tom Ford, when they see that they also do fragrances as well, there's immediately going to be an interest. And so for some people, going out and spending this much money on something might fill that void in their heart as though they're getting something that is just above the rest. And this is where it gets interesting, because that's obviously going to vary from person to person. Is the price tag on this going to make it better than things that are more affordable? I'll let you discuss that down below. But the fact of the matter is, it's that expensive designer brand that is flashy, that people want, that they know the name and it sounds cool and it's going to trickle down. Noir Extreme is just one of the more popular ones that has really gotten roped into that. You know, there's the gray vetivers, and then of course there's the private blend where it just gets even more expensive. This is just a little bit more entry level in terms of price point that people can digest and kind of add to their collection a bit easier with that mass appeal. It's a nice kind of gourmand, dessert smelling scent, sweet, kind of seductive, smells fantastic. It just works really well. And it's also been out for a long time now, so it's had plenty of time to establish itself. Also, it's available in all the retailers, all stores, all over the place. Same with a few of these other designers. And I should have mentioned that sooner. Availability in person outside of discounters plays a huge role in why these sell like crazy. Next up, we have Armani Code Eau de Parfum. Why is this one so popular? Because it's one of the only few codes that you can buy now. You're down to the EDT, the EDP, and the Parfum. All of the other good ones, they've been discontinued. And it might sound like I'm butthurt about that, and that's because I am. I'm really not too thrilled about Absolute and Profumo being discontinued. I love both of those a lot. And I do think that those were two of the best within the lineup. The new Parfum is really good. This Eau de Parfum is even great. But come on, the other two were amazing. The Eau de Toilette, in my opinion, is just harder and harder to recommend to this point, where I really wouldn't say it's necessary to buy. Like in 2024, if you're sitting down and you're trying to evaluate what you should add to your collection, Armani Code EDT shouldn't be one of them. If you're looking to add code to your collection, I would start with the Parfum first. And if that isn't enough for you, get the EDP and then call it good. Unless you want to track down some of the discontinued ones, you know, do that at your discretion. But just talking in production stuff, that's kind of what I would do. Why is this featured instead of the Parfum? Simply because it's been out longer, and so by default, it's a bit more popular and well known. I do think the Parfum will catch up and do pretty well as time goes on. It is a bit more cost prohibitive compared to the EDP, but still a great one nonetheless. Why is this so popular? Alongside the fact that it's an Armani code and it just has that popular DNA, it's because it again, is one of the only few existing or remaining at this point, but also they're adding in some suede, kind of bumping up that vanilla, just giving it a really nice adjustment, a much needed adjustment in my opinion. I think this one is a lot more interesting and a lot more refined and robust overall compared to the original Eau de Toilette. Polo Deep Blue Parfum is super popular because of the simple fact that it's a blue fragrance, okay? And, you know, take a look at the list here so far. Haven't mentioned the Sauvages or the Bleu de Chanel's or Dylan Blues or any of those varieties because we all know why they're so popular. This one does have more of a twist that really none of the other blue fragrances have. And it's, I think, a good thing. I'm happy about that. This really is a bit different. It has a mango note in here. And again, yes, it has the blue fragrance DNA. That immediately makes it similar to those and it ties it in, but just with a different style. It's also a bit more affordable, oftentimes $50. You see this one marked down heavily, even on retailers for $50 to $55, which is about a half off retail price scenario. So, you know, that's nice. Discounter wise, again, pretty consistently below retail by a good margin. So there's a lot to like about this one, and people have discovered that. It also can separate you from the existing crowd who is wearing Sauvage, Dylan Blue, and so on, just with something a bit different. So I think this one's definitely worth checking out. Our final scent today is Jean Paul Gaultier Les Beaux. Not the Parfum, although could be in here. Not Paradise Garden, although will probably be able to be included in the future because I can see that one doing very well. It's only been out for like a month now, so for obvious reasons, it's not going to make the list yet. But this one has been out for a good while and has gained quite a bit of respect and popularity, at least relatively speaking. Why? I think because it's a coconut summer gourmand. So it just gives you a sweeter summer scent, whereas your typical everyday summer scent is fresh and citrusy and aquatic and kind of run-of-the-mill cookie cutter. When you think of things like Creed Virgin Island Water, just to name one example, it has the coconut, rum, sugar, sweetness. That's not something that you get every day. Now, this and Virgin Island Water are nothing alike. Just the type of scent that it is could be compared though. So just a sweeter summer scent, maybe great for summer evenings when the sun goes down, starts to cool off just a little bit, you know, and you just want something a bit sweeter to go out to dinner or something like that. This is a great one. A little bit of a sunscreen type of smell, or just it kind of puts that thought into your mind when you smell this one. So it definitely conjures up some summer memories. There's just a lot to like about this one. Alrighty guys, that's gonna do it for me. Kind of going through and explaining why I think some of these select designer fragrances have gotten so popular over the years and have done so well. This video could be made over and over again with a whole bunch of other fragrances. Typically, I don't break things down in this way. I'm normally talking about scent and, you know, things of that nature. But this is kind of a look, flipping the script, I guess probably more from a business side, you know, maybe what the designer brands are thinking of when it comes to putting out things like this. I'll link them all down below. Also, I've got deals and new releases and rare fragrances going out to my mailing list all the time. Just tonight, as before I started recording this, new YSLY Elixir and Boss the Scent Elixir came into stock below retail. The Y sold out quickly when I sent out my email and text, and the others are going to follow suit and sell out pretty quick as well. So I'm your one-stop shop to be able to get the new releases below retail, because again, that stuff does sell quick. So jump on my list, you'll get notified, and you'll be able to get yours before they go. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.